Hey, welcome. Have you ever just stopped and wondered what makes us, well, us? Today, we're going on a huge journey to piece together the incredible story of humanity. So let's dive right in. It sounds like such a simple question, right? But it's honestly one of the biggest, most complicated questions we can possibly ask. What is it really that sets our species apart? What's the secret ingredient? And believe it or not, there's a whole field of study dedicated to tackling that giant question. It's called anthropology. It's all about trying to understand human life, from our earliest ancestors all the way to our complex modern world. Now, to even begin to get our arms around this, anthropologists basically use two major lenses. On one hand, you've got physical anthropology. Think of this as looking at our biological hardware, our bones, our genes, our evolution. And on the other hand, there's cultural anthropology, which is all about our cultural software, the learned behaviors, the beliefs, the societies we build. So let's start at the very beginning with our physical selves. We're going to have to rewind the clock way back, like a few million years, to trace the path that literally shaped the bodies we have today. The story of where we came from is basically this epic detective story, pieced together from clues buried in the earth. You could say it all really kicked off in 1859 when Darwin published his theory of natural selection. Then the clues started rolling in. Raymond Dart's discovery of an ancient child skull in 1924, the incredible work of the Leakeys in the 50s, and then the big one in 1974, the discovery of Lucy, a skeleton so complete it totally changed the game. And if the fossil clues weren't enough, modern genetics gives us this stunning confirmation of our shared story. The Human Genome Project revealed something amazing. Every single person on this planet shares 99.9% of the exact same genetic code. We're literally one giant extended family. So all this biological evolution handed us this unique toolkit. And it's not just one thing, it's the powerful combination of all of them. Walking upright, bipedalism, that freed up our hands. And what did we do with those free hands? Well, our opposable thumbs let us make and use tools. Of course, our highly developed brain gave us the power to innovate and solve problems. And the final piece of the puzzle, complex language, which let us share all those amazing ideas with each other and across generations. Okay, so that's the hardware, our biological blueprint. But what about the software that runs on it? This brings us to one of the biggest, most fascinating debates in all of the social sciences. Are we the product of our genes, our nature, or are we shaped by our environment and how we're raised, our nurture? For a really long time, a lot of people just assumed our behavior was inherited, baked right in. But anthropologists started to see a very different picture. And this is where the idea of culture becomes so important. See, for an anthropologist, culture isn't just about museums and opera. It's everything we learn after we're born. The rules, the values, the ideas of our society. It's not in our DNA. It's passed from one mind to another. And wow, nothing shows the power of culture like the revolutionary work of Margaret Mead. She went to New Guinea and studied three completely distinct societies. First, the Arapash, who were warm and nurturing, and guess what? Both men and women grew up to be gentle and trusting. Then you had the Mundugumor, who were harsh and independent, and they raised adults, both men and women, who were hostile and aggressive. And then, get this, among the Chambuli, the gender roles were basically flipped from what we might expect. Mead's conclusion was a bombshell. So much of what we assume is just natural about who we are is actually learned. It's nurture. Okay, so if we are all one species, but our upbringing, our culture, can create these completely different worlds, how are we supposed to make sense of it all? How can we look at a culture that seems so different from our own and even begin to understand it? Well, the biggest hurdle we have to overcome is this thing called ethnocentrism. It's basically our human default setting. It's that tendency to see our own way of doing things as the right way or the normal way, and to see other ways as, well, strange or maybe even inferior. It's a bias we all carry, and we have to actively work against it. And the tool that anthropologists use to fight it is called cultural relativism. Now, this doesn't mean you have to agree with or approve of everything another culture does. Not at all. But it does mean trying your best to understand it on its own terms, to see how their beliefs and their practices make sense for them in their world. It's the essential mindset you've got to have. Let me tell you a quick story that shows this perfectly. An ethnographer named Richard B. Lee was living with the Kong people in the Kalahari. To thank them, he went out and bought the biggest, fattest ox he could find for their big feast. He was so proud. He expected them to be thrilled, but instead, They just mocked him. They told him he'd bought a worthless bag of bones. He was totally confused and, frankly, a little hurt. So what on earth was going on? Well, he finally pulled someone aside and asked why they were insulting his amazing gift. And the answer was incredible. This way we cool his heart and make him gentle. You see, in Kung culture, arrogance is seen as the most dangerous thing. A hunter who gets a big head could start to think he's a chief and try to dominate others. So by teasing him about the ox, they weren't being cruel. They were protecting their community. They were teaching him a lesson in humility to keep everyone equal. These kinds of lessons aren't just for understanding distant cultures. No way. This stuff is more important than ever as we try to navigate our own crazy, fast-changing world. I mean, think about it. Cultures have always adapted based on how they get the stuff they need to survive. We started out in these small foraging bands, then we settled down and started farming, which led to bigger agricultural societies, then the massive industrial age, and now we're deep in this new communication-based world, the information age. Each one of those shifts totally changed what it meant to be human. Which brings us all the way back to our big question. We've seen we're a product of both our biology and our culture. So as we live more and more of our lives connected by technology, how is this new world shaping us? How is it changing our culture, our values, our very idea of who we are? The tools of anthropology. That's how we're going to find the answers. Thanks for coming along on this journey.